Hello, Bronx friends and neighbors, and welcome to Bronx Talk. Our guest is the state senator of the 32nd Senatorial District in the South Central Bronx. He knows it's including the Bronx neighborhoods of Parkchester, Long List, Soundview, West Farms, Hunts Point, Longwood, Concourse, Melrose, Morrisania, Mott Haven, East Tremont, and Westchester Square, a large part of the Bronx. He recently became the first Latino chair of the State Senate Judiciary Committee, is making his 26th appearance on Bronx Talk. We were just talking about that. Please join me in welcoming back to Bronx Talk State Senator Louis Sepulveda. Nice to see you, Senator.
Thank you for inviting me. 26 years.
Yes. So I provided a list, and I went through the list. Your first appearance, this is interesting, and I'm doing this for a reason. You were a candidate for the CCRB. And you were running for office, and Anthony Miranda, I guess he's now the city sheriff, right? Or he was with you. Then you did a political debate, and you did not win at that time, so you didn't get there. That was 2010. 2011, you came here to talk about the Cross Bronx Expressway, which, by the way, is still an issue. We could talk about that. Then another debate. You talked about Hurricane Sandy. And then on November 19th, 2012, we did a show on new legislators, so you had been elected at that time to the Assembly. Congratulations. The reason that it's relevant, I think, talk about your background with all of those issues and what you did before you were an elected official and how that informs what you do every day when you go up to Albany and work in the Senate.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called Los Zules, the South Side, South First and Roebling. I lived there. It's predominantly, overwhelmingly a Puerto Rican community. It was a poor community. And we lived there. I lived there until I was about 10 years old, and then I moved into Woodside, Queens. And then from Woodside, Queens, I moved to several places. I lived in Puerto Rico a couple of times. And then ultimately I settled down at Hofstra University, lived there a total of about 10 years by Hampstead, Uniondale. And I got my undergraduate degree in natural science because originally I wanted to be a doctor.
So I have to start calling, instead of senator, I'll call you doc.
So I changed my mind after I got my degree, and I decided to go to law school, and Hofstra University was is my alma mater. I graduated from there in 1991. So I became I passed the bar and got sworn in 1992. So I've been an attorney since then. I came from a community that there was a lot of social issues. There was a lot of poverty. I witnessed a lot of police abuse. I witnessed a lot of poor maintenance of apartments. Friends that just, some of them would go to bed hungry. And that really molded me as an individual. And in many of the legislations that I do, is with that, keep that in the back of my mind, that I have a job to make sure that people that I represent never have that kind of experience. I have a lot of immigrants in my community, and what's going on now, it breaks my heart. I grew up, even though Puerto Ricans, some people don't know, are natural-born citizens. I grew up amongst a lot of the Dominican community, South American community, and so I had a lot of alignment with their issues, and I understood their issues. I moved to the Bronx in 1991, and I've been here since. I've represented several districts throughout the last, I can't believe it's now 14 years.
We could look at the list and find, and so all of those things, and then of course when you went to law school, you realized you may have a tool to begin that process. Let's just get right to it. You were outspoken about the State of the Union address, and then only, I think it was like a day after I saw your release about that, we attacked Iran. I'm just curious, what do you think about the second regime change that the United States has accomplished by force?
Well, I mean, the State of the Union was just chock full of misinformation, lies, insults, accusations, demonizing Democrats. He didn't talk much about the economy. Well, actually, I'm going to say that. He talked about the economy in glowing fashion, even though we still have inflation. I recall when he ran for office, he says that on the next day, prices would all go down, and if anything, everything has gone up. He ran on a pledge that he wouldn't get us into any more wars, and look what's happening now. He has treated immigrants worse than any human being that has occupied the presidency of the United States. They have completely violated the Constitution. There's no due process. And what we're seeing here is when students in the future, generations in the future, look at what's happened to this country during this presidency, it's going to be a stain in the history of the United States. It's going to be almost akin to Dred Scott, that infamous decision by the Supreme Court. We're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see that we have elected a corrupt president, a misogynist, a white supremacist, and I'm almost ashamed sometimes that our society is living with that kind of leadership at the federal level.
I guess it's a hard question to answer, and there are complex answers. What's next? How do you make that change, or is this literally going to ride out the way it is until 2028? Or is
I mean, a lot of it's going to depend. What's happening now in Iran is, I can't understand. There's no justification. Anytime we have this intervention, the United States intervenes in other countries, it leads back. It creates a situation where there's less democracy, there's more poverty. Look what happened in Iran. That was $8 trillion of taxpayer dollars, and I mean in Iraq is worse now than it was when we got in there. These kinds of invasions or attacks, they destabilize an area. They create economic hardships for Americans. I mean, if there's an issue with this Strait of Hormuz and the Iranians decide that they're going to not allow...
That is what I read in the paper this morning.
So when we start paying $10 a gallon for gasoline and the kind of instability that's going to be created there as it happened in Iraq, when they leave, you get even hardliners in there. Same thing with Venezuela. There was no justification for that. He talks about a person who was bringing drugs into the country when he, a couple of weeks before, had pardoned the Honduran president who had brought in 400 tons of cocaine into this country.
There's no consistency. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just wanted to get you to weigh in because obviously it's not your part of the government. So I appreciate, and I think other people do. What do immigrants in your community, in your districts talk about? Mm-hmm. And are you concerned? Are they concerned? And what next? What would happen if there is a Minnesota-like occupation like there was up there? I can't see it in New York, personally. I just don't we couldn't exist if we didn't have diversity and welcome our immigrants here in the Bronx. I'm sorry, that's my editorial opinion.
What I see is a lot of fear, a lot of concern. Children that are not going to school because they're concerned. Really? Parents don't send them to school because they're concerned that they'll be separated from their children. What I see is, I mean, if you look at what you see on social media and you see the reels and the clips of these ICE agents acting with complete disregard to humanity and the Constitution of the United States, when you see that on a daily basis, of course it's going to create a high level of fear. And that's exactly what's happened. People, these MAGA crazies talk about that undocumented or immigrants are costing this country so much, and they don't realize that is the undocumented and the immigrant community in total that is saving Social Security. They contribute over $7 trillion to Social Security that keeps it afloat. Without them, probably Social Security would go bankrupt. And so I don't think people realize that sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for, because they are a huge sum gain for our society, what immigrants do.
We have talked about it just a moment ago. The Attorney General Pam Bondi sued New York over your law, the green light law. So, and I recall, and we could look at the list of him being on the show. I recall when we talked about it originally. Talk about what the green light law is, and then what happened with the Attorney General. And specifically, it really was about Louis Sepulveda and what he did.
I was very proud and consider that a badge of honor that we were able to beat her. The green light law was a law that I passed in 2018. What it essentially says, it allows undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's license, and their information remains, it cannot be divulged to any federal agency. What was happening is that you would have individuals that are undocumented, couldn't obtain a driver's license, they were driving vehicles.
So they would drive anyway?
They would drive anyway. They couldn't secure sometimes insurance because insurance companies can't insure someone who doesn't have the correct documentation. They were just making it more unsafe to be on the road.
And so if they were to have an accident, who would pay for it, and then it would be a whole... So
Correct.
has the law, this was 2019, we're in 2026, has it been successful in your vision?
It's been, I mean, I recall the Republicans are saying that this would cause them to register to vote unlawfully, but there hasn't been a single case in New York State where that's been the case, and it's been extremely successful. Because also, one byproduct of the law is that individuals that are from this community are not as afraid to talk to the police. And many of them are
Because
victims
they
of
have
crimes.
documentation.
Correct. And their documents information cannot be divulged. Many of them themselves are victims of crime within that community. Now, as some police chiefs have told us, that they're more willing to speak to the authorities, except for what's happened recently. But at the time that the law, and years later, it's been very successful.
This was, in fact, and I wasn't aware of it till we did the research for this program, this was Pam Bondi's first act as Attorney General. She said, this is the first thing I want to do. Ultimately, a federal judge dismissed the lawsuit.
Correct. And she should be focusing on the Epstein files and the disaster that she was as Attorney General of Florida that gave Epstein the biggest break, criminal break, a man-child charged with pedophilia. He got a sweet deal, and the Attorney General then was Pam Bondi.
So there you go. DREAM Act, you mentioned this to me before, and that's connected to this green light law?
No, it's not connected. The DREAM Act was another law that I passed that allowed undocumented students to be able to get TAP assistance and assistance at CUNY and SUNY. Because when children are enrolled in our schools here, public schools, from kindergarten to 12th grade, we don't ask what is their immigration status. We educate these kids. And many of these kids are now want to go to college, but they cannot afford it. And it's inherently unfair that if they want to continue their education, that they don't have access to financial aid. Over 30% of the small businesses that are started today in New York City are started by immigrants. And
this would not be a surprise to me, and in a way I would think that was
Mm-hmm.
even too small a number, but that's okay.
It's about 30% in the city, and many of them are these students that get out of college and they start a career. So it was a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, and thankfully at that time we had as we still do, the supermajority in the Senate. And at the time Cuomo was the governor. He played games he would say he was for it one day and then he would do things behind the scene to try to kill it. But ultimately he had to sign it, and that was a proud moment.
And there you go. Congratulations. So let's talk about the Senate's Judiciary Committee. You were pleased. You had sought this appointment to be the chair of that committee, or it just kind of happened, or where are we at?
The chairmanships in the Senate and the Assembly, it's really the leadership that decides. Every so often when we start session every 2 years, they'll ask us what our preferences are. And I always mention Judiciary because right now I'm probably the longest practicing attorney in the Senate.
Oh, that's interesting.
There aren't many of us that practice in the Senate. Many of us don't practice in the Assembly. I think I'm the only. There are 3 Latino lawyers in the entire legislature: Catalina Cruz from Queens, Zelno Mairi, who's Costa Rican, from Brooklyn, and myself. Of the 3, I'm the only one who practices, and that is helping me as chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Well, my follow-up, based on what you just said, how does it help you, and I asked you about it, what informs your work today? What would inform your work for the Judiciary Committee based on, let's say, cases or other things that you've worked on?
Look, my predecessor, Brad Holm, who's now the Manhattan Borough President, did a great job. But I have a different perspective because Brad wasn't a practicing attorney. I've been practicing for 34 years, so I understand how civil procedure works on a daily basis in my profession. I have I think a perspective where I can make the courts more efficient, where I can make it easier for individuals that don't have lawyers to be able to practice some level of self-representation and feel comfortable, to make sure that one of the big topics for me has always been diversity in the courts. The Bronx is an example of how the rest of the state should be. We have the most diverse court in the entire state of New York. And it is fantastic.
In terms of judges?
In terms of judges. We have more judges of color, more women. We have a whole array of judges from different walks of life, and that makes that courthouse a gem.
So what then are you going to look at, based on what you've seen as an attorney, what are you going to look to do and maybe reform or change or get the Senate Judiciary Committee to do?
Well, one of the things we're talking about is how we're going to break down populations to see how many judges are where, how many we can get, how many we can place based on a new formula we're trying to create. Some new department up north where We'll make it more viable for people from different walks of life to be elected judges. So we're working on that. I'm also, one of the things that we're looking to is to see if we can get more housing court judges, because housing court is a problem in terms of caseload. So we want to make it so that it's quicker, more efficient for both sides. That's one of the things that we want to work. And also,
excuse me, let's just stop there for a moment. Housing court in the Bronx is a beast.
It's everywhere,
and it has been that way for a long time. Even when they got the new facility, everybody thought, well, this will be the answer. But people are still waiting in the hallways, and cases go on, and you know, it's.
I have a great colleague who's not running for re-election, Brian Kavanaugh, who's the chair of housing,
right.
And him and I have been working on this together for some time now, so we can create these new housing judges, and I think we're going to get them because we need them. And then the last place where I think we can work on is court of claims.
Additional judges for housing court?
Right. So if you look at the caseload, according to OCA, and I may not be 100% accurate, but if you look at the caseload for Supreme Court judges north of the border, and by that I mean north of Westchester, I believe,
that's funny.
Yeah, I believe the caseload is less than 500 per judge, but in New York it's more than 2.5 times that.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we're backed up in a way that justice delay is no justice.
Is this a financial thing that you would need to do to get the funding for it?
It's a combination.
And then, of course, you've got to deal with the ballots and get people on ballots.
I mean, it's a combination. One way where we can increase more Supreme Court or judges that work in the Supreme Court is by using some of the Court of Claim judges. And the Court of Claims is the court where you sue the state of New York. So the administrative judge can put them in Supreme Court and a local Supreme Court.
Right.
He's done that in some cases here in the Bronx. So we can use some of these judges from Court of Claims and possibly bring them to the Bronx.
You mentioned I guess it was Court of Claims was another,
right.
and that's another area that needs bolstering.
Well, the Court of Claims, the chief judge there, Richard Seiss, has done a great job with the Court of Claims. We've worked together on several topics. I'm trying to pass something, a law or a bill that allows, when judges die in office, they get paid less than, if they're over the age of retirement, they get paid less than a judge that's in office. And so it's called...
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a bill that we're trying to correct that. The governor has vetoed it a couple of times. It's called the death gamble bill.
The current governor?
The current governor has vetoed it a couple of times. It's called the death gamble bill, which I think would be fair for the judges that serve New York State.
The other, I noticed the other Bronx senator on is Senator Bailey.
Yes.
And so I'm assuming the two of you will work together on all
we work,
these.
Senator Bailey and I, Senator Fernandez, Robert Jackson, we all work closely together for the Bronx.
I think that's encouraging. We've talked about the large issues. We've talked about the Judiciary Committee. Let's talk about the district.
Yes.
Vision 32, which presumably means the 32nd Senatorial District.
Yeah.
Capital investment in organizations. I mean, I got a nice list here.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I think one of the
maybe what is the Vision 32? Start there.
Well, the vision is that to have the right infrastructure, the community have the right education numbers in terms of students that go to school, pass exams, graduate. But one component that's really important to me that I've been working on is financial literacy. We have many kids in our community that don't know what a checkbook is, don't know what a credit card is, or don't know how to use a credit card. We want to teach these children about these things and teach them about things like individual retirement accounts, 401ks, so that at a very young age, they can start learning about it and start investing. And you're seeing, we're doing some of these courses, these classes. The New York Mets through Hardware Cafe gave us money at Renaissance. And so we're doing these programs now where we're teaching kids about investing in the stock market so that they can understand that you could become a millionaire without breaking your back.
And also give them vision while they're teenagers or while they're in school or whatever, so that they will have it in their mind, you know what, this is something I ought to have on my, in my goals as I move forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I talk to my own kids, my 14-year-old, I say, when you get money, put certain percentage into this and put certain percentage into the custodial IRA I have for you. I want all parents in our community, you don't have to be a millionaire to accumulate sufficient wealth and retire happily.
You mentioned the word Renaissance, and I know what you were referring to. I want to stop right there and talk about the Renaissance Youth Center, one of my
Oh,
favorite
great
places
place.
in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I'm partial to their work in music, that's one thing. But just talk about that center and your support of it and what you've done. You've provided funding
Yes.
and all those things. Just talk about it. This is the kind of place I think every neighborhood should have
Oh,
one,
absolutely.
if they don't already.
It's a great place for young men and women to go and learn several things. They do STEM. They teach music. They're doing the financial literacy program. It's just a great place for young men and women to go there and expand their horizons. If you like music, if you like the technical component of music,
STEM.
all that STEM, they teach you all of that stuff. It's just a great place, and I think this year I gave them out of discretionary money about $250,000. But good money well spent.
Senator, you will appreciate this. We once did a show over there, and one of the things they have is they have the kids, with Legos or some other model, building a community. What do you want in your community? Which in the Bronx is, is an issue this large, yeah. And so that's the kind of thing that, of course, we all want our kids to do.
Sure.
You gave $142 million for St. Barnabas's emergency department.
Yes.
Why did you do that? And why did they need that? That's a significant amount of money, $142 million.
Sure.
Not that St. Barnabas doesn't deserve it, but I want to know why.
It's one of the biggest hospital in my district. It serves a lot of people in the community that I represent locally. It serves a lot of immigrants. And I don't know if you ever had a reason to go to the emergency room, but it's not worthy of the community that I represent. And to me, when I walked in there, it really upset me that we didn't have something better. And I was happy to know that the president and the administration, which includes, I don't know if you recall, Victor Ricciardo, who used to be an assemblyman.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, he's high in the administration executive level now. They recognized this, and they began the process of trying to build a new emergency room, state-of-the-art.
A new emergency room.
Right, they have the one there. They're going to build a new emergency room, state-of-the-art, and they gave me the price, and myself and Assemblyman Alvarez, we went to fight for the funds, and the governor, we're fortunate enough that the governor allocated the monies, and we're going to have a state-of-the-art emergency room in St. Barnabas.
I guess we've had a number of conversations over the years, because you just foreshadowed what my next question was going to be. And that is what, for other organizations, and whether it be a hospital or whatever it is that needs funding for you or from other state officials, which is different from what you would do with the city, what do they need to do? How do they get to you? How do they say, Senator, we're here?
I'll give you an example. The leader gives us discretionary monies to distribute throughout my district, throughout our districts. About 80% of my monies I give to schools. I asked the schools in October to start sending me letters. I asked the superintendents that cover my district to start sending me, encourage their principals to start sending me letters for something they may need. New theaters, new technology, new computers. 1 year, and I'm very proud of this, PS6, which is one of the poorest schools in the entire state, we were able to get them money to build a brand new gym. They have a beautiful gym at PS6.
About how much was that, just out of curiosity?
Oh, I can't recall the number.
That's okay, that's fine.
But I can tell you that we fought for a few years, and when it was built, fortunately, I still represent the area, so I was very proud by the time it was the ribbon cutting happened.
Did you grab a basketball and go to
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, it's really about people reaching out to my office, the schools, let us know there's something that you need funded. It could be anything. You just let us know, and if we can fund it,
get to the office.
Get to the office.
One other bill I just happened to pick up that you are a co-sponsor of is Senate Bill S-779-2B to affirm and protect the rights of individuals with disabilities to use and receive support for their preferred communication method.
Right.
Explain what that is about.
Well, you see, we hear complaints about certain agencies that don't provide the necessary technology for people with disabilities to be able to communicate accurately and properly with these agencies. And so we want to make sure that they have something akin to a Bill of Rights, certain guarantees that they receive from the state to make sure that these agencies, the state, complies with them. And the bill is so that we force the technology on those that are providing the services to those that are disabled.
You're optimistic this will pass?
I think so. It's got bipartisan support.
And really, when you think about it, you know, there is legislation to make sure that a variety of languages are, when people go to for service, that the state provides languages. This is another kind of language. Why not?
Absolutely.
Makes a lot of sense. A couple of things just before we end. Are you pleased with Mayor Mamdani so far?
I mean, it's too soon to say I'm pleased or not.
Did you support him?
I endorsed him.
You endorsed him.
But just because I endorse someone doesn't mean that he gets an automatic A or B. I just want to see, you know, I had an issue with his proposal to increase property taxes 9.4% when I've been working for 3 years to modify the property tax system for the entire city of New York. And for him to throw that out there, potentially it would create a bigger problem for the people that I represent. These are homeowners that are not super wealthy. To try to increase their property tax 9.4%, I thought was a bit much for me to support, but we'll see what happens.
That is balanced, at least the way it seems to have been presented, with the taxing the rich concept. And in a way, maybe he thought he was threatening the governor about it and saying, Governor, if you don't do this, it's going to be your fault, kind of thing.
You know, one of the things that I've learned about Governor Hochul is that tactic doesn't work. It really doesn't work. Maybe people misconstrue her because she's a short woman, but she's
tough.
She's tough. Yeah, she's tough. I don't think that's going to work.
The last thing it's funny. I'm going to go back and look at the first. It was let's see, the third show you were on was the Cross Bronx. The governor wants to do this extension to the Cross Bronx. Communities are saying no.
Yeah.
You think it's a bad idea?
Man, I wish they could shut it down completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Robert Moses did a major disservice to this county for centuries, and I hope that they could turn that into a garden or something beautiful, rather than the busiest intersection that gives us the most hydrocarbons in the air and creates the most asthma.
We did a couple of shows on the Cross Bronx, and then with the guy who wrote the book Paradise Bronx, and he said 52 buildings were taken down. Senator, always nice to have
Thank
you.
you.
We'll look
Great to
forward
share.
to number 27.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Folks, that'll conclude the program. We thank our producer, Ray Pagnucco, our great production crew from Bronxnet and editing crew. And of course, to you too. He knows, I know, you know, it's always about the people of the Bronx. We'll see you next week.